And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather Tuesday morning, VFR in the interior, IFR out over the Bering Sea, the Aleutians, on up into Bristol Bay, and some IFR up into the North Gulf Coast here, and marginal VFR for the southeast coast. And for the afternoon, some marginal VFR up here along the Arctic coast and areas there down into the Bering Strait, with the IFR pulling just west of Nunivak Island, but covering all the Bering Sea, and then lifting north here, making it marginal for Adak, Atka, eastern Aleutians, and most of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, VFR Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast, right on up to the North Slope, as well as the southeast coast. Then for Wednesday morning, you can see a zone of IFR slides into the southern panhandle as it stays pretty good up to the north. And VFR for Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, on up into the interior. Areas of IFR showing up here in the Susitna Valley and back toward the Kuskokwim Valley, Western Alaska Range. IFR back in toward the Arctic coast and also into the west coast here. And IFR solidly covering the Bering Sea, the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. And then again, that burns back off to the west there, just west of Nunivak Island for Wednesday afternoon. So IFR for the Pribilofs and marginal or IFR for the Aleutians, and some marginal VFR along the north side of the Alaska Range. But the interior for the afternoon stays VFR from the Brooks Range all the way down to the North Gulf Coast. And the Panhandle, mostly VFR. Passes Brooks Range, another VFR day coming up for both Anatuvik and Adigan. Same thing for the Western Alaska Range, VFR, Lake Clark, Merrill, rainy, VFR, windy, Isabel, and Mentasta, VFR. Tanita, VFR. Portage could be marginal to start in the morning hours, but that'll become VFR in the late morning through the afternoon. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels here showing 10,000 feet over the interior, and then some cooler 4,000 to 6,000 foot freezing levels here, eastern Gulf of Alaska into the Panhandle, and another cold pool here backing to the northwest there, that low pressure area over the northwest Bering Sea. Otherwise, for the southern Bering and the Aleutians, into the southwest here, about 8,000 feet. And for icing, the only area of any significant icing is coming in here to the Aleutians. Areas of considerable moderate out here coming into just west of Atka, so Adak back to about Kiska Island or so. And then also some icing possible here for the coastal areas of the Panhandle. Isolated moderate, and that's about it. And for the jet stream, a couple of lows here over the Northeast Pacific, one southwest of the Queen Charlotte Islands. Southeast winds 65 knots along the Panhandle there, and then turning more easterly at about 60 knots or 65 knots there across Cook Inlet, then turning northeast across Kodiak Island, light up here over the northern central interior. And we've got some west-northwesterlies at about 65 knots for areas of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. 9,000 feet here, this low west of St. Matthew Island, pushing some 35 knot winds into that area. Otherwise, east winds 35 knots here on the north side of this low south of Atka Island. Light winds, southeast Bering Sea into the interior with high pressure centered over the north slope. Low pressure here in the southern Gulf. Easterly winds across the Gulf itself, 35 to 40 knots. And for 3,000 feet, southeast 30 knots coming across Dixon Entrance and Prince of Wales Island. Otherwise, pretty light winds here from mainland Alaska from the Gulf up to the north slope. 25 knot easterlies along the Arctic coast there, and northwest at about 30. This is a small area here over the southern Bering Sea. So pretty much turbulence free, or nothing of any significance out over the Bering Sea or the Aleutians, and possibly some mechanical light to isolated moderate turbulence, especially for small aircraft for the central and eastern Arctic coast, as well as along the coast of the Panhandle.